As of now, the cluster is configured with phase scheduler with 5 queues. You can see those 5 queues here. One is the default, second one is ETL, third one is prod, fourth one is QA, and fifth one is users. All of them belong to root, and users is a parent queue which have rules. So based upon the user submitted the job, if the job is not assigned to any queue, it will be assigned to root.users. Whatever user ID used to submit that queue. And also when it comes to resource allocation, we have given 80% to prod, 10% to QA, and 10% to ETL. However, these are minimum allocations. We can actually get all the resources if the cluster is not being used by any other things for a given job. That being said, now we will actually submit jobs by assigning to queues, and also we will see the behavior. So in this case, I will be submitting 2 jobs to prod queue. One requires 279 tasks to complete, or 279 containers to complete, and the other one requires 18 containers to complete. And then we'll actually submit one job to QA queue, which requires 18 containers to complete. So let's get started. As we have been running this several times, first let us start with deleting this directory. This is the first session, and we are actually running the job which actually processes 30 GB of data with 279 tasks or containers. As the job is submitted, we can go to the UI and refresh this. And you can see that it started, but it did not start processing the data yet. It just created the application master. However, the phase share for this job is 18 GB memory, and the total cluster capacity is 18 GB only. So now this job will take up all the resources. The total capacity with 1 GB RAM and 1 vCPU for each container will be 18 containers on our 3-node cluster, where 6 GB is allocated for node manager and 6 vCores are allocated for node manager, which means the containers has to use those resources only on each node. As we have 3 nodes, it's 18 GB RAM and 18 containers. Now you can see that the job is being running using 18 containers. So the total capacity is given to this job itself. If you click on this application master, you will get the job level details. Here you can see it requires 270 maps and 8 reducers. To see the current state, you can click on this further, and you can see that there are 17 tasks running here, and also there is one for application master, so total 18. So the entire capacity is taken up by this job alone. And even though the prod queue is assigned only with 80% of the resources, still it got 100% because no other job is running at this time. That being said, now let me open another tab and connect to the gateway node of the cluster. And now let us run this job. In this case, we are trying to process only one file, and it requires 18 tasks to complete it. 8 map tasks, 8 reducer tasks, 9 map tasks, and 1 application master. Earlier I have mentioned 8 map tasks. It's not 8, it's 9, because the file is a bit larger than 1 GB. As our block size is 128 MB, there will be 9 blocks, and for each block there will be a split associated with it for processing, and hence 9 tasks for mapping, 8 for reducers because it is hard coded, and 1 for application master. So it requires 18. However, as this is submitted to the same queue, which is nothing but prod queue, you can see that the resource allocation is still only with the first job. Let us refresh this page. Now there are 2 jobs, but the second one is in an unassigned state. It did not get any resources at this time. You can actually refresh this page to see that some of the tasks moved from running to complete. You can see here, but still this job did not get any resources because it is submitted in the same queue, and within the same queue it is still FIFO scheduler only. Okay, now we can actually submit another job in QA queue. So let's delete this first, and then we'll actually see. So I'm opening another tab here and connecting to the gateway node, and then deleting the directory. As the directory is deleted, we can actually copy paste this command, which actually process one file again, and it also requires 18 containers to process the data. Now you see the job is immediately submitted, and if you actually go to this web UI, you can see there are 3 applications, and one of the application is running in root.qa queue. You can see that it already got 1 container, and this is 17 only. And the reason it got 1 container immediately is because it is separated in a different queue, and we are using phase scheduler here. And you can see that when it comes to the share, this one got 2 GB of the memory as phase share, whereas the other one got 16 GB, the root.prod. The reason why it got 2 GB as phase share is because root.qa is configured with only 10% of the capacity. And you can see that job is running at this time. You can click on this and then this job, and you can see there is one task running. One is for application master, that's why we see 2 here. So even in this case, it might go up than 2 because this is minimum capacity and we have 10 more percent for root.etl. That 10% also is also allocated between these two. It's not that this got only 10%. It actually got more than that because the 10% which is assigned to ETL is not used by any other job, and hence those are also will be shared between these two. So this is how the allocations will take place at runtime when you have multiple queues. Within the same queue, the jobs will be running as if we are running in FIFO scheduler only. You can see that this second job which is submitted to root.prod did not get any resources yet because the first one is still running. Okay. So make sure you run with different scenarios and try to understand what is going on so that you are very clear with respect to phase scheduler. Especially with respect to Cloudera certification exams, if there are any questions on scheduler, it will be on phase scheduler because phase scheduler is the default one. That is the higher probability compared to the other schedulers, FIFO or capacity scheduler. I don't think there will be any questions in FIFO because we don't use FIFO scheduler in production. However, when it comes to capacity, there is a chance about how to switch to capacity scheduler. But the probability is higher with respect to phase scheduler because Cloudera supports phase scheduler and it is default when we actually build clusters with Cloudera Manager. So make sure you understand the internals of phase scheduler as much as you can.